Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Do you ever feel like you're doing the journey alone? Have you ever felt like that you just need someone to talk to, someone who could bring some perspective into your world? Or maybe you're not the type of person who learns from watching video courses or reading books, and you just want to talk with someone specifically about your challenges and how to break through them. I want to introduce you to the High Performance Men's Coaching Program. It's an intensive coaching experience designed to unlock a man's full potential in his life, business, and relationships. Over this past year, I've brought together and trained some of the best coaches in the world to help men step up, stop playing small, and become the strongest versions of themselves. Learn more about High Performance Men's Coaching at kfmcoach.com. Again, that's kfmcoach.com. You are not alone, and we are here to cut through the crap, hold you accountable, and challenge you so that you can make your dreams become a reality. Go to kfmcoach.com to learn more and apply.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Seth Swirsky. He's a best-selling author and clinical psychotherapist. He's also the author of 21 Ways to a Happier Depression, a creative guide to getting unstuck from anxiety, setbacks, and stress. Seth, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
All right, and Seth, let's get started. We dive right in with a favorite success quote or some sort of saying that you've lived by. So what do you got for us?
Well, I love Salvador Dali's quote, and he said, "Every morning when I wake up, I ask myself, what is Salvador Dali going to do today?" And I just love how that goes to creating your life. You really can create it every day you wake up. And that's an important concept. You know, he was the great surrealist artist. But you can really set your goals that day and really do what you want to do if you live by something like that. So I live by that quote.
And how does this quote affect you? How does it play into your life, your story?
Well, every single day, I like to end it by knowing that I did everything possible to be the best that I could be in all the projects that I do, because it makes it so that when I wake up the next morning, I have the energy to start at the beginning, Andrew.
There's something about that where at the end of the day, if you did everything possible, then you're done.
Yes.
You're done, yeah. And you don't have to have risk.
And if you lose on something, that's okay. Because you have to be able to go to bed at night saying, I did everything possible and I went the extra mile. You see, it's okay. It's okay if you don't succeed at something. That's a big thing. The biggest thing is knowing that you went hard for it.
At being done. Because when you're done, that means you don't have to have these racing thoughts at night. Like, what could I have done? What should I have done? How could I have done better? Oh my gosh. And then you're not getting sleep, and then it just spills over into the next day, and you wake up in this sort of state of scarcity.
That's very, very true. It happened to me a lot in my 20s. I started out as a jingle writer, and then I became a songwriter where I was writing for different recording artists. And out of the clear blue one afternoon, it was October 15th, actually. I'll never forget the exact date. I felt myself being pulled out of a 21st story window in New York City. Now, I actually wasn't, but it was the deep fear of, oh my God, could that happen? Oh my God, what's going on? And I was having an overwhelming anxiety attack. And it was just completely overwhelming. And for the next 5.5 years, I actually felt like my head was being held underwater, but just my nostrils were above water. So I was doing what I had to do, but I was barely getting by. And that was just extreme anxiety and not knowing who I was when I'd grown up knowing exactly who I was. And that's a very scary feeling.
When you were in that, did you realize that you just had your nose above water, or did you think, oh, this is just the way life is? Or is this something that you reflect back on and you're like, man, I was struggling. I did not realize how much stress I was going through. Or
Yes, at the time, it was so incredibly frightening. It's kind of hard to imagine. It was heavy panic attacks. And when you have a lot of those going on, it can lead to depression. You can't find your way out of them. And here I was trying to make a career as a songwriter, and I was just barely holding on. I always felt like I was just holding on.
I feel like there's a lot of us who may be able to relate with that right now today.
Yes.
Or at least at some point in our past we can relate with that.
Yes.
And there's this pressure, I feel like, on men, especially today, to obviously I have this podcast which is about personal development and growing, but wanting to have a balance and be happy on that journey is also a big part of what I want, is to love the life that you have now, and while you create that life that you're looking for. But I feel like it's easy to get caught and to feel like you're not enough, and to surround yourself with other people who are you're comparing yourself to your
absolutely
group. It can cause us to feel that anxiety or to live in stress, and to make us feel like we're not enough.
There's no question about it. And I just want to comment on that very. I get it. I really get it.
Yeah.
You really have to keep yourself open to your passions, even if you don't quite know what they are yet. I'm not saying, I love surfing, so I'm going to continue to surf while I hold down this 9-to-5 job. It's not just that. You have to be open to some of the things that you think, well, I didn't even know that I liked that. But wait a minute, that's going to cut into my job, or that's not the dream I had, or whatever. You got to keep yourself open to that. And if you can stay open to even some thoughts that might be the craziest stuff in the world, that's very, very healing. And especially to men, because men are kind of socialized to kind of get that job, keep it, and then before you know it, you're 45 years old and you never put that foot out of the bounds. It's okay to be the first one to jump in the pool at the party. Even though you know the water is going to be cold, you have to trust that it's going to warm up.
What do you mean by that? If you can go more into that about waking up at 45 and you never, break out of the box, or you said step outside. What do you mean?
Well, let's say you get that particular job and it's a decent job and you're moving on up and stuff like that, but then you realize you're in such a rut and you really don't dig it. And you've got to be able to keep your mind open to so many things. Hey, maybe I wasn't cut out to be a lawyer, but since I was whatever, I didn't know what I was going to major in. I thought, well, this is the easiest way. And, maybe I have a little interest in that. And then you don't want to turn out to be 45 and say, why didn't I take a shot back then at doing something that I always had the inclination of doing? Why didn't I try to write? Why didn't I pick up that guitar? I'm not saying a lawyer as opposed to a songwriter. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying be open to who you may be. That's very important to really understand that. You might not be the corporate guy that seems easy and it's an easier, it makes more sense in a way, but you may not be that. Maybe you want to take a year off and travel. Maybe you really want to do different things. There's no set blueprint in life, but I think a lot of men get very caught up in, I have to do it this way. And all I'm saying is they turn around in their mid-40s. Look, I'm a therapist to a lot of these men.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to open them up right now to say, I always say, what do you want to do? Oh, I kind of want to go to Africa and bring a camera, and that's it. I said, so go online and find I'm sure there's a phone number for a travel agency. What are you waiting for? What are you doing in here? So, I joke about it, and it's easier said than done, Andrew.
Right.
I'm just saying, keep your mind open, especially to the things that hit your brain that say, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I shouldn't do that. Oh, I can't think that. I could never do that. Let's say you wanted to write a book on something, a lot of guys would say, well, I don't know the book world and I'm not a writer. And I know a bunch of people that really do that kind of thing. You got to trust that the pool you're going to jump into, it's cold at the beginning, but it gets warm really quick. You got to trust that.
Mm-hmm. So you've worked with, is it hundreds of men or thousands of men at this point?
Oh, yes, very much so. And in relationships as well. This transfers over to relationships Absolutely. As well.
Uh-huh. And what do you see are some of the big regrets that you see of men? So you probably do get some of those guys who land in your office in their 40s or 50s, and they've just got this something that they wish they would have done. Or do you see some common themes here?
Oh, yes. I see a lot of men that have stayed in bad relationships that weren't good for them. Now, let me just say, This is not a knock on women in general at all. At all. I would say the same thing to women about women.
Yeah.
It's about good matches. But I think a lot of men sometimes go after the wrong things instead of going after really something like as simple as, does it feel good? Do you feel good? Can you stretch yourself out? Do you feel like you? Can you talk about your crazy ideas? Can you do these things? A lot of men, to be quite honest with you, and I don't know if I can say this on your show, but they really come in and they lost their balls. Part of my job is to help them regrow their balls. They don't know how to say who they are and what they are, and that it's okay to say it.
What does it look like when you see someone who's lost their balls? What do they look like? Maybe their body language. What are they saying? What are some of these common excuses that you hear from them?
Oh, she wants me to do this, and so we went on this vacation, even though I really didn't want to go. And then I kind of had to do this. I said, well, wait a minute. What do you do for enjoyment? Well, I'd really love to hang and just lounge and watch football. I said, oh, what does that look like to you? He goes, yeah, just hanging on the couch with some chips and a beer and just vegging for 8 hours. But I can't do that. I can't do that, they say. I said, excuse me, why? Why can't you do that? Oh, no, I can't do that because my wife would get upset or my girlfriend or whatever it happens to be. And again, please understand this is not anti-woman at all. Not in the least.
Yeah.
I'm really talking, but you asked me a specific question.
Yep.
And I always put back on them, Andrew. I say, why can't you do that? I really want to know what the answer is, what the reason is why you can't do what you just said. Sounds pretty relaxing to me. Sounds like you deserve to be able to do that. That's who you are, and that's what you want to do. Or a guy might say to me, I'm dating this girl. She really wants to go hiking all the time. And I'm not, that's not what I'm into. I said, then don't do it. Oh, but I might lose her. Okay, then it wasn't the right relationship. If it's going to get lost over that, come on. There are plenty of people out there and, it's about a good fit.
Yeah. Sounds like maybe they're settling or that's what I'm getting from those guys. Why do you think they're settling?
I think they're afraid to be themselves. I think the society that we live in right now is kind of it's very politically correct, and a lot of men feel like they can't fully be themselves. And what do I mean by that? Do I mean that they should go around pounding their chest and saying, I am the king and you're going to do what I want? Only some of the time. But, and I believe a lot of women actually want that. Not that example I gave you, but I do believe that a lot of women, I think the society is trying to train men to be a certain way. And it's not comfortable for men. It's not comfortable for them. And so they come into my office and it's like they just want to be themselves. They just want to be able to, sometimes, just watch a game for 8 hours or not be so correct all the time and so right. And let me, I'm just saying, can you relate to what I'm saying at all?
Yeah. Basically, man wants to do what he wants to do, and he feels like he can't. He's settling, and he's trying to please the woman. And in that process, which leads to my next question here: Do you also work with women too? Or
yes, I do,
okay.
And couples. And I'm very into keeping couples together. I am not, I'm just I'm talking guy to guy here, though.
Oh yeah. So now I'm curious. So you work with women too. What are the women saying? Like, because you see both sides. So you see what the man is complaining about, and I'm wondering if the women are complaining that their man is not stepping up or is not really going after what he really wants. And I think that would be interesting.
It's a fascinating question that you ask, and my response to it is that a lot of times men will say they want this when they see me privately, and then when I see the couple together, I hear her what she wants, and I see them both separately sometimes,
Okay.
And what it ends up being is, imagine this for a second. You know what a jigsaw puzzle is, right? And there's 1,000 pieces to it.
Right.
What if you said to me, hey, Seth, can you help me jam this piece in over here? It really looks like it fits. It's very close to fitting. You know what I would say? I'd say, Andrew, it's the wrong piece. And you'd say, but wait, it's close. Let's jam that piece in. No. Put that piece aside. We need to find the right piece. And it's the same with relationships. A woman, I think, may be looking for somebody different than, a lot of men are trying to be that piece that fits in, as opposed to maybe it's just not the right piece. Maybe, what would be wrong with finding somebody that really jives with what you like?
Absolutely.
It's important. It's very important for men to be who they are and to go through the wall and to say, hey, if you don't dig it, that's okay. Then we weren't meant to be. It doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Yeah. At what point do you move on versus trying to work through challenges together?
Well, that's an interesting question because you use the word work. And I really believe that a relationship shouldn't take all that much work. It should take all that much, inject the word fun over work. Now, we all know people that are in relationships where they're all saying, well, we really have to work at it, or a long marriage really takes a lot of work. Of course there are disagreements and there are fights and there are things along the way. Nothing's perfect, and I'm not suggesting that.
Right.
But if there's a general respect and a love for the person, you allow that other person to be who they really are, not who you want them to be. You really got to understand that point. That's the key. You got to let the person, you have to let the woman be who she is, not who you want her to be. You might really want to cook. Somebody who cooks great. I'm making that up.
Right.
But she just doesn't cook great.
Yeah.
But you might love her anyway. You got to just love her. You got to just love who she is. That kind of a thing.
I like that. That should be that. Allow them to be who they are versus who you want them to be.
That's the key. If you could put that in the wall and put a frame around it, that's the whole deal.
We're done. We're done with the show. That's it. So then I feel like you would get a lot of points if you help that person become more of who they want to be. So like, they tell you they have this thing, but they're like, oh, I can't do it. But you really support them in becoming who they really are.
That's a great point. Yes, I totally agree with that, and I think that's a healthy thing. But also, let's circle back to anxiety and depression right now for a second. Yeah. Let's say you're going through a really terrible period. You're a guy that's going through a terrible period, and you're having a lot of panic and anxiety episodes, right? Don't you want to be with a mate, a woman that understands when you go through those and isn't like, I don't understand it, and it's freaking me out, and that may be the way she's built. And maybe that's not the right relationship, but people need to be in relationships with people that really love you through your highs and your lows. And they don't veer too much away when either happens. They're very happy for you when great things happen. Yeah. But when you really go through the horrible times, where it is really bad, you've got to be able to express that to your mate. You have to be able to really express that fully. And be who you are and not hide your anxiety or your depression or any bad feelings that you have. You've got to be able to express it, and you've got to feel like you have a real partner and a real somebody who is going to listen and be there for you.
Yeah.
It's very important.
What do you find are some of the skills that women are wanting from men to work on, to develop, wish they would do more of?
I think women really want to feel like they're heard. I really do. I really think that they want to feel as if when they tell you something that they're feeling, that you're really listening to them, not just nodding your head and thinking, oh, the game's on in 12 minutes. They really want to feel like you. I wondered why you didn't laugh so quickly at that. That must be the time delay.
Well, I was taking notes, and then I realized what I was writing, and then I laughed. But okay.
No, they really want to feel as if their feelings that they're articulating are being truly heard. They don't care if you change, hey, I don't like, when you don't make the bed in the morning and you throw your socks on the thing, all that stuff. If you really say, you know what, I hear that. I hear that. I can see that. I hear that. That's they want to be heard. There's a whole lot of other things women want, and there's a whole lot of things men want, but it's very important to really listen to your woman. I don't know any other way to say it. Yeah. Very important that you really, and if you don't understand what they're trying to say, tell them that. Tell them, I hear that you're trying to communicate something to me. And one other thing I want to say about it. If you have a fight with your lady and she says, and she says, I don't like the way when we were at that party, you said that thing that I told you I didn't want you to talk about, and it really embarrassed me and stuff like that. Well, a lot of guys will come back and they'll be defensive about it and say, well, the reason I said it was because, sometimes it's okay to just absorb what she's saying. Just absorb that she's feeling that. Just take that in. Allow that. That's what she's feeling. She doesn't want to have to contend with what you've got now. It doesn't mean that it's illegitimate what you've got. You might say, well, the reason I did and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But allow her to say it. Allow her to say it. I'm just telling you, it's really the thing that cuts down on a lot of fights going on and on and on.
Yeah, just cutting. Because if you just listen and make her feel heard, that might be all she needed. And then you guys can move on and the rest of the night goes on and everything's fine. But if you come at it with your ammunition and support and you got reinforcements of all kinds of ideas of why you're right, then it can just blow up into...
It does blow up.
Yeah.
And I just want to make one small correction on what you just sent back to me in that the way you said it. Not make her feel like you're listening. Actually listen. And if you don't get it, ask again. That's the thing. Really, really try and hear what she's saying and let it go into you. And you could say, you know what, this may not change tomorrow, or I don't know where I am with this, but I wanted to just hear you, and we can leave it right here. It's important. It's important. So the idea is not to, try and hear what she said, or to like fake it.
Right.
I made the joke before, if the game is on in 12 minutes, I'll just, keep my eyes open and listen to her. We all do that. I mean, women do it too, but it's important to really try and hear what a woman is telling you. That's the answer to that very good question.
Yep. I think we could save a lot of arguments in confrontation and conflict by making them heard.
Yes, and it doesn't require. Yes, and Andrew, it doesn't require cutting your own balls off. Like, oh God, this is another more feminization. Now I've got to sit there and listen and not talk back and all that stuff. No, you feel out every situation. I'm just making a suggestion. It really allows for. See, a lot of times what women feel, and I've had, I can't tell you how many patients or clients, as we call them today.
Yeah.
When a man goes back against what a woman is trying to say to you, imagine that there's a wall and the woman is in front of the wall and you're directly in front of the woman. She feels trapped. She feels trapped, like there's no way out for her. All she wants to do is express. So if you take a step back and just allow her to speak, so much air will go out of the room. May not happen at that given moment, but it's a very good thing to practice. It's a nice thing.
I'm just recalling past scenarios in my past. I'm like, wow, yep. If I would have just listened, you could have saved so much time and energy from so much conflict can be avoided when you just listen. And now we talked a lot about relationships, which is incredibly important. Your book here, 21 Ways to a Happier Depression. What do you mean by that? A happier depression?
Well, okay, so it's not heavy depression. I'm not trying to cure anything here, but what I'm saying is if you go through things like depression or anxiety or panic episodes or things that I cannot tell you how many men go through, and they've got to keep it quiet. They really do keep it quiet. It's not cool, somehow a lot of men to talk about it or to whatever. They try to tamp it down. That's very difficult when you're going to work. There's a lot of, when you have all that stuff. My whole point in doing this book is there are 21 things that I learned when I was going through it. Like, forget it. Every time I was writing a song or a book or making a movie, whatever, I just went through so many things. I learned a number of techniques that were unique, and they helped me get through the really bad moments. And so it made it so that I cut it right in half. And they didn't go on for 5 days, and they didn't go on so in other words, I'm not trying to cure anything here. And I am not suggesting my book supplants a therapist or supplants for some people who take medication or anything like that. Not at all. What my book is, it's like a friend. There's no chapters. It's not a workbook. It's filled with watercolors. You have it in your bedroom. And when you look at it after you've read it, you feel good because you know that at any given moment, you could go in there and say, I'm going to try that. Because right now I'm feeling very tense, and it's things like painting. And you might think, oh, I'm not a good artist. I don't want to paint. What is this guy talking about? Exactly. I'm not going to go out and spend $100 on a canvas and a paint. So what is he talking about here? I'm not talking about that. I'm saying for $9 less, you can buy watercolors. A very simple thing. And I am telling you, when you're feeling totally stressed out, whether you know how to draw a stick figure or not, it doesn't matter. You know what I do? I take a brush and I paint circles and then I paint squares.
Oh, man. I've never heard it.
I know, it sounds completely ridiculous. Like, what are you talking to me about? I'm telling you, it's soothing. It's very soothing. And at the end of the day, you have a nice little, all you got to do is buy a pad of paper, blank paper. It costs nothing. But I'm telling you, these are the kind of unique ideas I have in my book that I really want to put out to people that have helped me tremendously. Before I know it, I'm not thinking of the things that just gave me worries that sent me down the rabbit hole.
I think, too, just being creative. Someone likes to play the guitar, like pick up the guitar. Someone likes to write.
Yes.
But doing the things that kind of activate your creative mind, I can see how that would alleviate a lot of that anxiety and stress that really, clouds our mind. And sometimes when you're doing those things, those creative things, sometimes your answers come to you.
That's exactly right.
You're like, oh my, like it hits you, and you were just doing something, kind of just for enjoyment. And then
that's exactly right. I call it the first floor, second floor. Like your first floor is what's going on right in your brain at the moment.
Yeah.
But sometimes that becomes overwhelming and you get super stressed out over it.
Right.
If you go to these little painting circles and squares, and you do some of the other things in my book, I'm telling you, just like you obviously understand, you're not thinking about anything, and the issues that you have are being worked out on the second floor.
Right.
Beneath the surface.
What are some of these other, so being creative, you suggest painting. What are some other techniques that could help a man alleviate, reduce, or shorten his anxiety and stress for the day?
Well, I'll tell you, it's really, this is a physical one. But I will tell you that when you're really feeling that stress come on and it's overwhelming, what I do sometimes, it works like, I'm just telling you, it just works. I get a washcloth, an oversized washcloth. And if it takes two, then it's two. I douse it in water. I turn on the water and I make it super cold. And I just twist it once so that it's still very dripping. And I just put it on my head so it's in my ears, like across my forehead and on my ears, and then one on my neck as well. I guarantee if that doesn't bring you down, it just automatically starts to bring things down. Now, you might say, well, what about a guy who's in an office or something like that? Very simple to do. You take wet washcloths in the bathroom at the company or whatever, in an office. You can sit in a stall if you want to have your own privacy, and it's about letting the water drip. It's the water dripping down your face onto your. Now I know you're thinking somebody's wearing a suit. What are they going to do? You can put other paper towels here or whatever. It's just water, but I'm telling you, it's extremely soothing. It's very, very soothing. I'm not talking about just because it's a hot day. It's not about that. It's about just allowing water to drip down your face. That's all. And it really takes about 5 minutes, and that's all.
Great. And I think before people judge, you got to try it before you can judge.
Oh, yeah. You'll see what I mean. I stand by it. I mean, It really is one of those things that just has helped people that I've told that to.
I'm fortunate that the beach is just right here in San Diego, and one of the best, like, it's like a priceless experience. I think it's just so priceless just to be able to jump in head first.
Oh yeah.
People are always scared to get their head wet, but jump in head first and just float underwater. And when I come up, I just feel like I'm in a different world in terms of like my stress and anxiety, all the things I'm worried about. But just when I'm in the water, it feels so peaceful.
That's a nice way of putting it, and it dovetails perfectly with because now we're talking about water, and I was talking about the
washcloth,
wet washcloths, and you talk about the beach and the ocean and stuff like that. I'll tell you another one in my book.
I'm trying to get on 21 here. Actually.
Oh yeah, no, but another one is it takes effort to do because you're busy at night and you just want to throw the stuff on your chair and then just go to bed after you click the TV off or whatever. But it is very, very refreshing and good to take a shower before you go to bed. You get in there and you make it a little cold. I don't mean freezing.
Yeah.
But once you just wash the day off of you, I don't mean once you get home. If you do that and that's your routine, no problem. But if you can, at 10 o'clock at night or something like that, when you know you're going to be asleep in 15, 20 minutes, and no shampoo, no nothing. You shouldn't be in the shower for more than a minute. If you just let that water go over you, you'll sleep so much better. And that sleep sets up your next day.
So like kind of a cool shower before bed.
Yes. It helps.
Short one.
It really helps. It really, really does, you know?
Yeah. And I think the key is the cool shower, not a hot shower.
Yes. And that's why I said about the washcloths too. Keep the wet in it. Don't try to, wring it all out.
Yeah.
It really is about putting it up on your forehead and letting the sides really hit your ears and feeling it drip. Because most people would say, oh my God, it's dripping, as if that's something wrong. That's part of what makes it so healing. It sounds so simple, but the things in my book are extremely simple. They almost sound like, oh, I should have thought of that or whatever. Well, I'm just trying to condense what's worked for me in my high stress moments and then what's worked for my patients.
That's great. That's great. Let's get a few more.
Oh, yeah, there's so many. I think it's very healthy there's a chapter I have called Flower Power. And sometimes when we're feeling really bad about ourselves, we think, I'm just going back to what you said at the very beginning of our interview, when you said, some men, they feel bad about themselves, and then everything around them is just, they feel not as good,
Right.
Their confidence level is low. I always found what helped me a lot was I just bought seeds and some dirt. I just went to the local whatever, gardening place.
Yeah.
Cheap. And if every morning before you go to work and you come out, when you go to work and you come home, you just water that and you watch it grow. It's something that you take care of. And whether you have kids that you're taking care of or a dog you take care of, it doesn't matter. I'm just talking about flowers. And it's taking care of yourself. When you're watering those flowers and you see them grow, it gives you the feeling. You have to do it to know what I'm saying. But it gives you the feeling of, I'm creating here. A lot of my ideas in my book are really about doing creative things.
Right.
Simple creative things. There's enough difficult things to do in life. There's enough complications in life.
Yeah.
My book is really about keeping it super chill, super easy. There's 25 watercolors in the book to show you exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Another one is if there's a room that I'm in and it's lit overhead, I try to never put those lights on. I buy two lamps, small lamps that you can put on next to a couch or whatever it is. And I play with, I like this one, how you can, it's a 3, light bulb is 3. So I put one on one and another on another. And it sets a different mood. It's very calming. Very calming. Lighting is so important.
Yeah. I recently purchased amber light bulbs. Have you heard of this?
Yes.
Okay, so like the most light bulbs are like the white light, and it's just not normal. It's like your brain it's not like sunlight. It doesn't know what white light is, like a fluorescent light. That's not normal light. Like your brain doesn't know what that is. But it works. But at night, your body, when you have lights on, like bright lights, it kills melatonin production. And when you have amber lights, it does slow down melatonin, but it doesn't do it nearly at the rate of regular light bulbs. And so at night, I just have amber light bulbs, and it's orange, like your room is orange, but you will get better sleep. Like I start doing it. It's not that I start doing it. It's as soon as the sun goes down, I turn on my lights, and I only use the light bulbs that have the amber. So I'm not like changing light bulbs every day. I'd have certain lights that have the amber, and that produces a result that you will experience the next day. When you wake up, you will be, wow, you get tired. It's not that you get tired, but your body will want to go to sleep earlier and get deeper sleep. But that is a $5 investment.
That's what I'm saying. Everything in my book is cheap. Everything is cheap. Like even the paint set, it's so cheap. I can't even tell you. There's no cost for anything in my book. I just want to say also that it's that you mentioned. It's lighting in a room as chill as it can be makes a difference in your night. Not the overhead big lights. Those are overwhelming. These little things make a difference. Another thing that I do is, how you have pictures up all over your house and posters and things that you've had. A lot of people, they never change them. They never change them. And something might remind you of an old girlfriend, or something. You might be in I don't know, you might not talk to the guy that was your best buddy, I don't know, not all that much. It doesn't mean anything to you anymore. Whatever. I'm just making up examples.
Yeah.
It's a very healthy thing to change out your pictures. They're new. It feels new. It makes your life feel new when you change out your pictures. A lot of people feel guilty about it. Like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to have a picture of my mother up there. You know, if she comes over and doesn't see that picture there. But you know what I'm saying. I'm joking around a little bit.
Right.
It is important to change out your pictures and to take a look at your walls and say, you know what? I don't need to have that. That's been on there for 5 years already. It's good to make these subtle changes because it makes you feel newer and you have a little bit of a spring in your step.
Yeah. Let's do one last technique here.
Okay. I mean, there's so many.
There are, yeah.
I found that I enjoy writing letters. Now you're thinking, okay, come on. Who writes letters? I type out my email. Stop giving me that. But you know what?
Oh, handwritten letter. Okay.
A handwritten letter.
Okay.
And what is good about it is I write it to somebody that I've always wanted to get a letter back from. So I'll write a letter to a baseball player that played when I was growing up, and I thought, wow, if I ever get a letter back from him, that's cool. And wouldn't you know, I got 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 letters back from baseball players when I just wanted to relax. I wrote these letters. I sent it to their old teams, and I go to the mailbox, and wouldn't you know, there's a letter there from Carl Yastrzemski. You know, he played for the Red Sox in the 60s. But no, the point is that you could just, it's a very relaxing thing to do that. You know, one other I want to mention to you is it's very stressful when you see your whole filing system and it seems like a mess. Your life seems like a mess.
Yeah.
And what I do is I think it's very important to clean out your files. Well, people say, I'm depressed. I don't feel like doing that. I'll never get it straight. I show you a way in which it just makes it so much easier to do. It's got to be where there's a yes pile and a no pile. It's very simple. Like, that ticket stub, I don't need that anymore. Throw it out. You don't have to think. Or, you know what? I got to keep that. That's my insurance form. I got to keep that, right? So those are the obvious piles.
Right.
The one that you're not sure, hey, I don't know if I should keep that love letter from that old girlfriend. Or I don't know if I should keep that picture from this one or whatever. Put it in the maybe pile. So you're not thinking every second you pick something up, it's like a major thing. Before you know it, you stop filing. But I will tell you, it is very, very healthy because once you get your files clear, your mind is clear.
Yeah.
And you've accomplished something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, underneath, the closet, the bed, garage, all these areas, your car, maybe the trunk, things like that, I think really, really pile up. There's a book, I think it's called The Magic of Tidying Up. It says, like, look at something in your house, and if it doesn't bring you joy, then get rid of it.
That's the exact thing that I'm saying about the photographs and the things on your walls. Every time your eye hits a photograph, it should give you a good feeling.
Yeah.
And maybe it's outlived its warranty. Maybe it's outlived its date. Maybe you've looked at that picture already a gazillion times. Yeah. That doesn't mean you don't like the person if you replace the picture. It's nice to update.
Yeah. It's nice to update. Yeah, absolutely. So just a few, simple things that you can do. And I think that is the point, is that they're simple and they're things that you physically do. Like something is happening physically, like you're painting, you're putting a towel on your head, you're changing your lighting, you're changing photographs, like you're doing something. And I think just like the act of doing, like, gets you in momentum, especially if you're feeling really low or depressed, you kind of stay still and you don't move.
You don't do anything.
You don't do anything.
That's right.
You don't feel like you can, but just these little things you can do to boost your energy and make you feel better.
That's absolutely exactly right, the way you characterize it. But there are also ideas in the book. Like I have a chapter called Yes. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I believe fully, especially if you're not feeling at the top of your game or you're feeling the blues in whatever way, somebody invites you out for something. Hey, there's a party going on, or hey, do you want to go? My friends and I are going to Chinese food, or hey, there's a hockey game, or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
And you're thinking it's Friday night. All I want to do is kick my shoes off and just veg out. You know what? You've got to find a way to say yes. You've got to find a way to say yes to almost everything, because you will have such experiences and it will get you out of your zone. And you never know who you're going to meet. You never know the laughs you're going to have or the conversation you're going to have. even though you might be feeling insecure at the time because of the anxiety.
Right.
You got to be able to say yes. And so that chapter kind of pushes you. And, again, I speak in my book, the chapters are short, and I speak in a very conversational tone, like I'm talking to you now. It's not like it's a workbook or it's heavy or anything like that. It's me talking like I am now to you. It's real simple.
Right.
So I just want my book to feel like it's your friend, and you can always go to it for some idea.
You mentioned Veg Out a few times. Do you think that there's pros to that? Like veg, I think comes from the term like you're a vegetable, like someone who can't move or think, and then that's what that might look like on the couch.
Right.
It's like it looks like you're a vegetable. Yeah. Do you think there's pros to that? Like just being I'm going to sit and watch a season of Game of Thrones today.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think if you do that if the whole season comes on at once and you want to do that, no problem. I think that I know, Andrew, when it starts to get to the point where you're avoiding something, or you just don't want to, you don't have the energy, you're feeling a little bit down. Yeah. So I make no prescription for, you can only watch TV for 5 hours in a row and then you got to get out. You might want to just take in that whole season at once. No big deal. You got to kind of listen to yourself when you know, wait a minute, it's Wednesday and I started last Thursday.
Yeah, of course. When you're going from season 1 to season 2 in the same day, there could be an issue. Or when you're done with the entire series, there could be an issue. But yeah, I've been, I don't talk really ever about like what I watch on TV and stuff, but I find that there are some guys who are so fixated on their goals in life that they cut out entertainment.
Yes.
They say, nope, I have not reached my goal, and that means I can't watch that. Of course, I can't see that movie. I'm focused on my goals, and I'm not suggesting that you just watch seasons of whatever TV show and put your goals on the sidelines. But if you are working day in, day out, and like what you shared, you're done. Like you did all that you could during the day, you're done. Because I find that you have diminishing returns if you try and work past 10 hours, 12 hours. Like you're just banging your head against the wall. You're not really producing great work.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I had a patient actually that was in his early 30s. And he was a record producer and damn good, really, really good, really talented, and on it. And he said, my girlfriend wants to go away for like a few weeks and go to Europe and stuff like that. And I don't want to go because I might miss somebody recording and I want to get that gig or whatever.
Yeah.
I said, well, you got to go. We spent 4 sessions just getting him to actually get to the airport. Okay. And why did I feel that way? What convinced him finally, as I said, you've got to be able to clear your hard drive, your brain. You've got to clear your hard drive. You will come back a better producer. You have to be able to let go sometimes and give yourself an experience that's outside of what you're doing all the time, of those goals. It's great to strive for goals. It's incredible to go for it. But you also have to know when to just say, hey, I got to try something new here. I got to get away. And because I'll be better when I come back. I need to clear the hard drive so I have more space. That's exactly what you were just saying. I do it all the time in my practice, all the time, trying to convince very hard driving guys that, hey, got to give yourself a break. It's totally okay, too. You're not going to fall behind.
Yeah, I think that's it, too, is you feel like if I take a break, then my competitors or other people are going to get ahead. And I think you can equally, if you're trying to get ahead, I think you can get ahead by staying in the game. And you can stay in the game by staying sane.
That's exactly true. And it's also the quality of your work, not just the quantity.
Of course.
You really have to, you got to give yourself a break and just round out who you are as a human being and just trust. That's the key word, Andrew. You've got to just trust that it's going to be there and you're going to be better off for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So not losing yourself on the journey. Like,
right.
I wouldn't want someone, I want people to achieve their goals, but I wouldn't want someone to say like, I had to sacrifice sacrifice a decade of my life and I didn't enjoy it at all, but I did get the goal. I would much rather you say it took me 12 or 15 years and you enjoyed the whole journey.
Well, you know what? I have a saying that I made up myself and I live by it. And I tell a lot of people, life is in the striving, not the arriving.
Life is in the striving.
Striving,
Yeah. Okay.
not in the arriving. So in other words, it's nice to win a Grammy, but I enjoyed all the songs I wrote up to that.
Right.
You got to enjoy the work you're doing. You got to enjoy it. It's not, if you win an award for it or you get all the accolades, I'm not talking about just money.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, don't think if I do all this stuff, then I'll get that big award and that's going to make me happy. Or if I do all this stuff, I'll win the pretty girl and that will make me happy. No, it won't. It's in the striving for things is where happiness lay.
Right. That is, I think a concept that you can hear over and over and again, and it can still be difficult to actually grasp.
Yes.
I was just recently, I don't know why, but I was just recently watching, because there's a new documentary that came out about Michael Jackson.
Okay.
And yeah, I think it's been some time, so we don't really think too much about him, but it was really looking over his life, and he was under so much stress. I mean, could you imagine being the greatest entertainer of all time?
Since he was 8 years old, by the way.
Exactly. And so he never had a childhood, a teen. He never was able to grow up because he grew up on a camera. And
That's right.
He grew up with so much, he had so much power and money and had everything that you could possibly imagine from an artist perspective. From wanting to be an artist, he achieved the unthinkable. He achieved the impossible, and he wasn't able to deal with the anxiety and the stress of that much pressure and being on the spotlight for all of his life. That it created all this anxiety. It created obviously depression, and I don't think I didn't know. But maybe others did, but that he was addicted to prescription drugs.
Yes.
And these drugs were for his problems, so that he could cope with life. And and so he would pursue doctors who would just give him insane amounts of these drugs.
That's right.
And which ultimately led to he had an overdose.
Look at Elvis was 42 when he died. Or Jimi Hendrix or Jim Morrison, they were all very, very young. They were 27. It's Kurt Cobain. Yeah. It's very, very difficult. That's not the profession you want to go into if you're having issues of, depression is very difficult when there's 50,000 people screaming your name and you don't believe it yourself.
And so, why I bring that up, I just watched it the other night, but I think that when we're living in this anxiety and it could be minor depression or serious depression or just stress, because everyone can relate with stress for sure, especially high performing men that are listening right now, that if we don't learn how to cope with it, I think that it will win. Yeah,
I agree with you, and that's very well put. And by the way, it would be very simple for me to say my book basically is like, it just shows you techniques about how to do, lift weights this way and get on the running machine and stuff. There's a little of that in the book too, but basically speaking, I'm trying to give people different things that can relieve stress at the moment, as opposed to going and working out. I mean, that's the obvious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it will win. Stress will win only if you give it a lifeline. If you give it that blood supply, it's going to just keep coming back. It's going to say, oh, I like it. Here, you got to cut it. And hopefully some of these 21 ways will just stop it in its tracks. It doesn't have to go on for years. It doesn't have to go on for a day. It doesn't have to go on for an hour.
Yeah.
It used to go on for many hours, many days, many years with me personally. Years. And that was extremely stressful. But these things seem to work, and I got older, and I just got into this field, and I just used a lot of those things on my own patients, and it just seems to be working. So I wanted to share it.
That's great. Yeah, got to beat stress. We've been going a lot longer than I anticipated here.
So you might be wondering, why would I ever invest in a coach? I've never done anything like that before. Well, it's going to shorten your learning curve and save you the time that it would take to achieve your goal. You can avoid making mistakes that you would otherwise make. You'll get more results because everything will be tailored to your specific needs and challenges. The coach will hold you accountable so you can't procrastinate, so you can't be lazy, so you can't say, I didn't have the time. You'll be challenged and pushed harder than you've ever been pushed. You'll have conversations so powerful that you'll feel more energized, alive, and confident and certain about the goals that you have in front of you and where you want to go. Most importantly, where you want to be. you'll go farther than you've ever gone before when you have a coach. If you want to learn more about our high performance men's coaching program, go to kfmcoach.com. Again, that's kfmcoach.com to learn more about our high performance men's coaching program. You have got to understand that every successful person in the world invests in coaching to go from good to great. And if you're already a high achiever, then how much more could you achieve if you had a high performance men's coach at your side to push you even further? Go to kfmcoach.com to learn more and apply for our high performance men's coaching program. Again, that's kfmcoach.com. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime.
What do you think is holding most men back from becoming stronger, grounded men today?
Well, there's a lot of pressure on men to be a certain kind of way. Do you hold the door open for women, or do you let them, be their own, I'm equal. I get that,
Right.
I don't know. There's a natural, both sexes have their own power. Do you know what I'm saying? Women aren't less powerless than men, and men aren't less powerless than women. They have different kind of power. Men have to be able to express that and be who they are, and women have to be able to be who they are. I think there's a lot of social engineering going on. So it's very hard for men to know what the hell to do.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. There's a lot of expectations on a lot of men, and that's what's so hard. And so I say to that, the answer to that, to my suggestion is,
sure,
again, jump into the cold water. If you want to connect with people more, then do it. If you see a pretty woman, go up and talk to her. Go up and talk to her. If you want that job, go find out how to get it. Just get in there. Jump in the water, because you're a hero when you do that. It doesn't matter if she goes out with you, and it doesn't matter if you get the promotion or not. You're a hero for going for it.
Right. Yeah. That's the biggest. I think that's one of the biggest epiphanies I've had in the last.
Yes.
Listening to all the interviews and reading all the books is
Yep.
If you can flip that script of you are a success for taking action and being in alignment with what you felt and doing it.
Yes.
Rather than the outcome, then you are a success.
That's exactly right. And I use the term hero because that always makes me feel like when I'm nervous about doing something and I just go for it now, if I get rejected, I say, hey, you were just a hero. You were just a hero. It makes me feel good that I did it. And I really suggest that to men as well. It's okay to talk to yourself a little bit. I kind of mumble to myself sometimes. My kids always say, Dad, are you talking to yourself?
I think the problem, I talk to myself too, like I talk out loud is really what I'm doing. Like I have a thought and I talk out loud sometimes, but I think the problem might be when you start answering your own questions. That of course. Then we need to see you. Then we need to see you.
When you start making the multiple choice out loud, then it's an issue. But I know that if I go for something and I get turned down, when I walk away, I say to myself, good for you for going for that. I want to hear myself say it. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And now you know. Now you know.
Yes.
You know the answer. And
yes,
you're not living in indecision, which I think is suffering.
That's right.
Now, what would you say, just briefly, 3 of your most influential books that have helped you on your journey?
My most influential books. Do they have to be about like self-help type books?
It doesn't have to be.
I read a book by a woman, an elderly woman who was a psychiatrist, and it's called Hope and Help for Your Nerves. And her name is Dr. Claire Weeks, Weeks. And it was so soothing. I remember reading it in the 80s sometime. I mean, it was quite a while ago, but it was very soothing. So I just love that book, Hope and Help for Your Nerves. Really wonderful book, very soothing. An older Australian woman. You wouldn't think that would help you, but it really did. I don't know that I want to tell you about 2 other books, but I can tell you, only because I can't think of them right now, that book for sure. But I'll tell you, listening to the Beatles always helps me. In terms of the arts and things that do things for me. And I love going back to movies that I've watched before that I know have given me a very soothing feeling.
Yeah.
I'll watch The Graduate over and over. I'll watch certain movies. They just make me feel very safe.
Yeah.
Make me feel very secure and very it takes my mind off the negative,
Yeah. And now this one's more of a scenario for yourself. Imagine you had 60 seconds with 25-year-old Seth. And so if you can envision where he's at personally, professionally, financially, knowing what you now know today, you can go back and sit down with 25-year-old Seth. What would you tell him to do, and what would you tell him not to do?
I would say, be calm. It's all going to be okay. And everything that you want is going to happen. Everything. Everything. Even the negative thoughts that you have of, oh, this is never going to happen, or how could I think that I could ever be this, or all those things. It's all going to happen. And not because I'm sitting here with that knowledge beforehand. Just be calm. You have the talent. You have it all. You have it all. And not because of me, by the way, Andrew. I think a lot of people can say this about themselves.
Yeah.
I would tell myself to just be calm. It's all going to be okay. And what was the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
Anything you tell him not to do?
Oh, yeah. Don't worry so much. There's no reason for it. It just doesn't have that much value.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have that much value. You can make a choice. Do you want to go forward with your goals, with stress or without it? With worry, with anxiety, with depression, or without it? You know what? I choose to do it without it. But when you're in your early 20s and even, all through your 30s and 40s sometimes, and maybe later, you don't know that. So that's what I would tell myself if I could. And that's what I'm trying to tell you and trying to tell, your listeners.
Yeah.
You have a choice. You're going to be good anyway. You're going to succeed anyway. You're going to get your goals. I really don't know anybody that hasn't. I'm not talking about I'm going to be, Jeff Bezos tomorrow.
Right.
I'm talking about normal type of things. You're going to get there anyway. You could choose. Do I want to do it with this heavy backpack of depression on me, or do I want to put the backpack down and run free? It's a choice.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It's very freeing. Isn't that a very freeing thought?
It is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. It's beautiful. This has been a fantastic interview. What's now exciting you today? What's getting you out of bed in the morning?
Oh, well, I just did a renovation on my house, which is finally coming to an end. So I'm getting to relearn my own house, which I'm very happy.
That's great. What was it? And I have kitchen and bathroom and stuff?
Oh, just the whole thing. I mean, it was just everything. Yeah. And I'm just thrilled about that.
Yeah.
But I also have to say I'm on a book tour and I'm doing a lot of interviews for my book. The biggest thing that makes me so happy is when I get emails and letters from people saying, that helped me so much. I know it sounds like I'm plugging my book. I don't mean it. I promise you I don't.
No, it's okay.
But you asked me. I'm trying to be real with you about what really gives me joy right now. And it's such a feeling when these things are working for people. That is so big because, to affect a life and to make people feel less bad is a great feeling. I make records. I've written a ton of songs for different recording artists. I've felt great from that, but this actually feels better, Andrew.
Yeah.
That people feel better from doing these 21 things,
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, get the book on Amazon, 21 Ways to a Happier Depression, a creative guide to getting unstuck from anxiety, setbacks, and stress. And what is the best, is it Seth.com?
Yeah, my website is Seth.com. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
amazing.
It's right? I know. And I didn't get it in 1975 either.
Wow.
Yeah, I got it in the mid-2000s. It was just there. It was kind of crazy. Yeah, I know.
I'm surprised Seth Godin didn't get it, or just someone. I should start buying first name domains and reselling them.
Yeah, no, it just was. And it's great because I put all my own paintings up there. I put my music up there. I put the book up there. It's a lot of different things. But cool. Yeah, visit Seth.com and I just hope that it helps people. I really do. So far, so good.
That's great. Great. Seth.com, guys. You can't forget it. Seth.com. Seth, it's been a pleasure having you here on the show and listening to your story and sharing with us all the strategies and techniques that you've shared to help us live a happier, stress-free life.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be on, and thanks for the great questions and the great repartee.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and millions of downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we're just getting started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a helpful review in iTunes because it really helps the podcast grow so we can impact even more men in the world who need this. Guys, this is all about living with purpose, where every day you only do things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. And always remember, love the life you have while creating the life of your dreams. Go to kfmfree.com to get a surprise bonus I've made for my listeners. Again, that's kfmfree.com for something that's changed my life, and I'm offering it to you for free. Also, check out my Amazon best-selling books that I've written for you to help you crush life at kfmauthor.com. Again, that's kfmauthor.com to see all the books I've created to help you break through in life. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, founder of knowledgeformen.com, and I'll see you in the next episode.